Thank you guys so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you taking the next 20 minutes out of your life to listen to whatever this might do for you. The reason that I'm here is that Bridget, who we all know and love and started Womentalk, met up with me just through me going to these events and absolutely loving listening to the stories that everyone else was telling. She approached me and said, you know, have you ever thought about talking? And I said, no, because I don't have a spectacular story. And I was like, you know, I listened to all these amazing women, and I went, not really. And she said, what she tells everyone has a story. So I said, okay, well, let me go. My story will not be about abuse and hardship and difficult times in my life. What I hope to achieve is to inspire you. So I asked some of my closest friends, what do you think I should talk about? And a lot of them said, why don't you talk about how it is that you're as confident as you are, which I now have figured out is a bit of a slam, because only because it's kind of like, how do you look like you do and act like you do and you're really confident? That's kind of the way I took it. Or maybe it's just that I always seem like I'm up because I actually really am. So that's kind of the point that I hope to get across to you guys today. And the only way to tell you how that all started is to tell you where it all started. The Grassjucks. I grew up in small town Saskatchewan with a couple, Bill and Marianne Grassjuk. They got married really young in their life, decided that they were going to have the typical ball team. My mom came from a family of 9. My dad came from a family of 6, which equated that they wanted to have a whole bunch of kids, and my mom was completely happy to be a stay-at-home mom and do what she thought all moms should do. And that was just to make her husband happy and be home and be content in her life. So unfortunately, my mom started her life out, her married life out, with one stillborn daughter, and through the course of her life, she suffered 15 miscarriages. She was very, very fortunate to have, are you ready for this? Him. The guy with the big ears is my brother. He's really adorable. His name is Billy, named after his dad. They're both William. My brother would say that they had him and said, we can't duplicate this, so there's no sense even trying, we're just going to pick one. And I would say that they had him and went, we're not taking a chance on that happening again, so we're going to go pick one. At the end of the day, all I knew is that I was adopted before I knew what adopted was. All I knew was that it made me feel special. It didn't make me feel odd. If you were adopted in today's world, it may make you feel like you were different than other people, and it may give you some issues later in life. I didn't feel that way at all. Everyone was incredibly loving and incredibly generous in growing up. But if you start to see a trend, you see me. This is my Baba and Gio as I was growing up, who didn't speak English. So all of a sudden, the little girl with a thingy in her hair and too much eye makeup was already starting to feel a trend of not really fitting in. So, child abuse. Let's talk about the child abuse that I endured, okay? Who lets their daughter wear horizontal stripes is what I want to know. I realize I'm pushing on. Yes? For all of you who go, she always looks amazing. Oh, hell no she doesn't. Oh, hell no she doesn't, because that's what I was like in grade 8. So for all of you who go, you know what, you're always so confident, you always feel really good about yourself. This started at a young age. I was a chubby little baby, I was a chubby toddler, I was a chubby little kid, and I was a chubby teenager. That led to all kinds of insecurities, just like it does with everybody else. I kept on saying, like everyone says, oh, you know, she'll get through puberty, and she'll have kids, and she'll grow out of it. I'm 52. It's not happening. I'm not growing out of it. So when you're insecure, yeah, get married to the first person who wants to marry you. I met my husband the week after I graduated high school. We were engaged that summer and before I was 18. And by the time I was 19, that's me. And yes, those are what my real eyebrows and hair color look like. And then what do? So they married really, really young. It was the thing to do. It's what you did. It was 1987, and if you weren't going to be a doctor and you weren't raised as being super independent, it was kind of the next thing that you did. So you become Betty Crocker, you have a couple of kids, and yes, that is the apron. So during the course of this part of my life, I'm now in my early 20s. I've been married for 5 years. I have 2 kids already, and I start going, I'm in Churchbridge. And I'm not really completely positive that this is enough for me. everyone's looking at my life. I've got a husband who loves me, he's got a good job, I'm at home, I've got 2 beautiful little boys, so why are you so miserable? And everybody questions it. My mother would have said, what would your mother said? You made your bed, right? Right? And I was really young. And so I thought, this is kind of what you do until it's not enough anymore, right? So then I decide there comes a time in my life where I need to find out who I really am. The year that I had Braden, who's my youngest son, he was 1, Robbie was 5, and I knew I was adopted. And it wasn't so much about just morbid curiosity. It was more thinking about that if I didn't find my birth mother, not only would I not know about my birth mother's family, about where I came from, about medical stuff, about all the real stuff, but neither would my kids. And that meant neither would their kids. And when you have babies, then you start to think about that a lot more, right? So I decided to go on a mission to find my birth mother. And that's what I did. What did you find? This is my birth mother. I found her about 11 days after I sent in the application to social services to find her. There's a bit of a resemblance, do you guys agree? The best part of this story ever is I was sitting in my hair salon in Churchbridge, Saskatchewan, and the girl from social services called me, and she said, oh my God, I have been waiting for this. I said, why? And she said, well, you do know my name when I was born was Lena Marie Bradburn. She had given me the name because Lena was her favorite aunt and Marie was her middle name. I didn't know she'd given me the middle name Marie because it was her middle name. So she gave me the middle name Marie, which my parents kept when they adopted me because my birth mother had given it to me, and they named me Sharon. What they didn't know was she gave me her middle name and her name is Sharon. So we were both Sharon Marie. So guess what? It's okay to just be you. All of a sudden, good enough was not good enough. I'm in Churchbridge, Saskatchewan, population 700. I'm married for, 7 years, and I'm 26, and I got 2 kids. My kid is 27. He can't change his socks without making a major decision. And all these people started coming into my life. It went really, really quickly. Months later, guess what you don't see in this picture? My husband. Yeah, good. Yeah. And then there were 3. Stuff started getting really real. I lived in Churchbridge. I helped my ass for the best part of 30 years behind a hairdressing chair to feed my children. And if it sounds like, when I said I didn't really have any hardships, this part was hard. I'm not gonna lie. I worked really, really tough, and that was kind of my dream. And so what do you do when you're in a small town, right? You start all of a sudden I'm also trying to figure out who in the hell I am during this period, right? All of a sudden you realize, oh look, there's another small town. Oh, I got a good idea. How about you get married? That's a good idea. Because that worked really well the first time. Get married again. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Gotta love that. It didn't take long to realize that who I was with was not what I was missing. And trying to fill the void of where you were, of who the person was that was next to you, was not what was missing in my life. So what was missing? You start looking around. What's the major component in my life? I was missing a few angels. In the winter of 2008, I went on a little search. I picked up the phone after I drank a rusty nail one night. And this is my birth father, Roger Angel. Aww. The greatest part of this story is that from the time that you got the internet and you got an email address, my email was angelcut6. My kids were my angel babies, my girlfriends were my angel girls, and then I find my birth father, and his name is Roger Angel. Wow. All of a sudden, my family forest grew huge. Life changed again, as did the understanding of who I was. Because I'm going to tell you that when you thought you knew who you were when you were 20, and you meet your birth mother's family, who's funny, have big boobs, lots of eyeliner and big hair, all of a sudden you're like, I'm home, hallelujah. Then you meet the angels who are compassionate and loving and supportive and patchouli smelling and hippie loving and make love not war and so loving. From the second that I walked in their life, everything changed. So I went from this, Bill and Marianne, my brother and myself, to the angels. All of them. I went from having one brother to having 4 half-sisters and a half-brother. And in case you never noticed, they're all some pretty beautiful people. And good enough, guess what? Let's turf Sheldon Shore, shall we? That's a good idea. It was time for me to stop losing me. It was time to make changes, so I changed. From here to here. Who's ever did their hair in a different way because somebody didn't like their hair? Whoever didn't wear something because they thought it was inappropriate for a situation? Now think work, don't just think in your house, think for your work, for your friends, an event you were going to that wasn't really you but you did it. I'm going to tell you what you got to stop wearing. I like to call it your fake up. I wore it for a lot of years and I refuse. So for all of you who go, when did you start getting to be so confident? I think it was right about here. I think this was the point. When is it time? When is it okay for you to be you? What day does that work? When you wear what you want to wear, when you put, it doesn't matter if you go in the office. You don't feel like wearing high heels. I wear high heels. What time is okay? How many lives are you living? These are 2 of my very best friends in the world. Mo got married when she's 50. Darla is a crazy lunatic redhead. But I'm going to tell you what. I buried them both last year. You never know. You never know. So the friends who came with you and the ones who are sitting beside you, don't take them for granted. They were my 2 best friends and you never know. Which brings you to purpose. What are you doing? What brings you joy? Do that. Do more of that. Do you like music? Do you like to eat? Do you like to have a glass of wine? Obviously, you guys luscious. Do you like to travel? These lunatics in the corner and I do burlesque every Sunday, which I would highly recommend. Do you not like to see people? Don't see people. Do you like to see your family? Do you not like to see your family? What time is it when it's okay to do that? What day? Stop doing the things that make you feel bad. Every time you go on social media, do you feel like, oh, this girl has such a great life and I don't even actually like my husband? Why does she like her husband so much? First of all, it's fake. Nobody puts out, except for mine. I really like my husband, but most of the time. But when you put on pictures, don't compare. Don't compare. Who's prettier, who's slimmer, who's nicer? Stop it. Stop it today. Because you know what? It doesn't matter. And for God's sake, stop dieting. Take keto, shove it up your ass. No one cares. Yes. Be healthy. Love yourself. Did you see the picture of me in the bathing suit when I'm 2? I look pretty much exactly like I do now in a bathing suit. Who cares? And I know they say, learn to love yourself. And learn to, you know what? Just do that. Do that. It's amazing how good it feels. This quote was from Meghan Markle. She read it at Christmas time this year at the Palace. It's a quote from a poem. We're all meant to shine as children do. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people the permission to do the same. Sisters. Amen. Sisters, shine your little light. Shine your little light. Where I am, oh good God, here we are. So now what? I realize that the people who really love you don't want you to change. They don't want you to change your hair, they don't want you to lose weight, they don't want you to be a different human being, they just want you to be you. Those are the people who really love you. And who cares about anybody else? Because if you try and please everyone else, it's the toughest lesson you'll learn. I'm 52 years old. It's the toughest lesson you'll learn, to not worry about what everybody else thinks. It's not your business what other people think about you. Amen. Okay, so then, oops, I did it again. 3rd time's Oh, aren't we cute? This is my forever family, the Flets. My mother-in-law, my sister-in-law flew from Saskatchewan to listen to my 20-minute chat. I'll tell you honestly, the only reason my husband's not in this room is because it's Womentalk. He's my biggest supporter, my largest fan, and anyone who knows him will tell you that. Those are the kind of human beings that you have to find in your life. This is my forever family. This is as my mother-in-law told my children on my wedding day, boys, this is your mother's last marriage. She did, I swear to God, ask her. These are my true loves. These are my boys now. Robbie, my youngest son, graduated with the Calgary City Police last fall. Robbie turned 30 on Wednesday. Oh my God, I can't believe. Yeah, and beautiful Leanne. That's what life is about, friends. So what makes a difference? What do you do? Do you guys do this stuff? When Jordan reaches out to you and says it's important that you contribute, it's not about you. It's not even about them. It's about how it makes you feel and what a difference you make. And if you think that contributing is not going to make a difference in your heart, you're wrong. You're wrong. I don't spend a lot of hours doing this, but the ones I do, you're not going to find anything else that makes you feel like that, I'm telling you right now. And most of all, I started Shaz's SOS for CASP, the girl that you saw, the tall, flaming, crazy redhead. I put her makeup on her and did her hair in her coffin. She died by suicide 6 months after her son took his life. So I am a contributing factor to suicide awareness and to suicide prevention. Sadder than losing a friend to death is watching them lose themselves while they are still alive. If you got a friend who's losing herself, pull her aside and say, snap out of it. Are you being fake? We only have one life to live. There's no dress rehearsals. Wash off your fucking fake up. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop trying to be everything to everyone else and just be you. Try that for a day. You're gonna be amazed at how great it feels. And finally, whether you live with nature or whether you live with nurture, live with purpose. Thank you very much.